In this dystopian world, the city is controlled by the evil Van der Kuyt family. Once a year, the head of the family, Hilda, gathers 12 citizens. She dislikes participating in the calling, during which all 12 participants are killed on live television. Boy is a child who has a simple life with his eccentric mother, who appears to be part of the resistance, and his sister, Mena. The siblings hang out together all the time at the arcade, or just watching TV while eating cereal. Sometimes Mena would come up with crazy plans for the future, like robbing a bank together to escape the city. She also likes to give Hilda's statue the finger. Unfortunately, the siblings are eventually chosen for the calling, and Boy has to watch his family get killed by Hilda. He also gets hurt and is left for dead in the jungle. Soon, a shaman finds him and nurses him back to health, but one injury is permanent. Boy is now deaf and mute. He can't even remember what his voice used to be like, so he uses the voiceover of his favorite video game in his inner thoughts. From then on, the shaman starts training Boy to one day kill Hilda and get his revenge. The training includes martial arts, strength training by rolling a statue's head up a hill, and weapons training. Boy regularly gets buried in the mud and uses a bamboo stick to breathe, eating bugs that crawl down the stick. If he crawls out of the mud too early, the shaman scolds him and buries him again. Boy also does all the chores around their home and hangs out with his only friends, 2 beetles. The shaman grows his own food, which frustrates Boy because it's not much. Some nights, the shaman gives Boy drugs that make him hallucinate and revisit his old memories so he won't forget his goal. However, most of the time, he sees crazy things moving around him. Boy sometimes visits the city to practice reading lips, and when someone bothers him, he shows them a little piece of paper explaining his situation. He also keeps seeing Mena everywhere because he can't move on. As years pass, Boy pushes his body to the limit and grows into a powerful young man as the training gets harder. One day, during another practice fight, he catches the shaman in a hold and is about to defeat him. But at that moment, he gets distracted by another vision of Mena. The shaman immediately uses the chance to beat him and concludes he isn't ready. Boy tries to meditate to make Mena's hallucination disappear, but it doesn't work. The next time he goes to town, Boy notices a cute flower girl who gives him a flower and smiles flirtatiously. Unfortunately, the sweet moment is interrupted by the arrival of government soldiers who start chasing people to gather 12 for the next calling. As everyone panics and runs, Boy hides and watches Gideon and Glenn join the soldiers. They are part of the Van der Kuyt family, and seeing them triggers a memory. When Boy was a child, he and Mena saw Gideon enter their home to kill a rebel. After gathering all the people in the square, Glenn gives a speech to announce the 12 chosen ones. He starts harassing a poor family, and a woman in the crowd insults him for it. So Glenn shoots her. This causes the crowd to go crazy, and Gideon calls head enforcer June 27 to handle it. She immediately takes care of a man with an axe, cutting off his arm before killing him. Then she starts killing everyone who complains while her helmet shows different words to match her speech. Boy watches as his traumatic memories get triggered, but the shaman stops him from helping because he isn't ready. In the end, only 6 people remain for the calling, and Glenn scolds June 27, who refuses to kidnap any kids. After an argument in sign language, Boy disobeys the shaman and starts running on the rooftops to catch up with the enemy. The group is now stuck in traffic, so Boy sneaks behind one of their cars and gets inside the trunk with a dead body. Later at a warehouse, Boy comes out and watches Melanie scold her relatives for only getting 6 people instead of 12. She then tells Gideon to grab 6 people off the street to complete the set. Suddenly, Boy notices the hallucination of Mena next to him and argues with her in his mind, causing him to lose track of the enemy. He starts sneaking around the warehouse, while fake Mena moves ahead, playing ninjas. Forgetting she isn't real, Boy tackles Mena to save her from an incoming cart and is seen by Glenn, who sends the guards after him. Boy hides Mena in a locker and steals a gun, but he remembers the shaman taught him that he's the weapon. Ready for revenge, Boy comes out and starts fighting the soldiers hand to hand, using his mighty punches, a knife, and the men's own guns to kill them one by one. As the soldiers open fire, he uses a body as a shield, and a slave called Basho throws him a gun, but it doesn't have bullets. After taking a better gun from the body, Boy shoots a few soldiers and hides with Basho, who offers to help kill Hilda if Boy frees him from his chains. Boy shoots the chains to break them. Then he goes back to the fight, killing more and more soldiers while Basho hides behind a cart. One by one, every enemy goes down under Boy's amazing abilities. But there's one soldier who refuses to die. Boy keeps fighting him, and eventually gets his hand stuck in a machine to stop him from moving. However, the soldier just pulls and leaves his arm behind to fight Boy again. This time, Boy cuts his legs off to finally stop him. Basho celebrates their victory, only for Glenn to suddenly open fire on them. He misses his shots, and Basho shoots back, hitting him in the leg. Boy gets ready to kill Glenn, but Basho reminds him they can use Glenn for information. Glenn is interrogated and explains that Hilda has a party at her mansion every year before the calling. He even offers to help them. However, Basho drops a heavy object on Glenn's head to kill him. The duo leaves the warehouse, and Boy notices a shadow watching from afar. Basho takes him to the secret location of the resistance, only to find it empty. Suddenly, Boy is held at gunpoint by Benny, who puts his weapon down, and Basho mentions Boy is on their side. Benny explains that the soldiers came for the rebels and killed everyone but him. Since Benny speaks a strange dialect, Boy has trouble reading his lips. Basho learns his girlfriend is dead, too, and has a breakdown. Boy comforts him. The team makes a plan to infiltrate the party, but Boy keeps getting distracted by Mina and the memories of his childhood. He still has the drawing Mina did as a kid. When Basho and Benny explain the final plan to Boy, he doesn't get it, yet he nods along because Mina tells him to. After getting some weapons, they leave in a van and make it to the mansion. They knock out a few guards and even a chef, whose uniform Boy uses to get into the party. Boy doesn't really know what chefs do and awkwardly wanders around the house until he gets distracted by macaroons, which he's never had before. Luckily, Basho, who is using a guard uniform, sees him and reminds him to get back to work. Seeing Hilda nearby, Boy becomes hungry for revenge and decides to act. He goes to the kitchen and takes off the uniform, so the other workers start fighting him. Using a cheese grater, Boy cuts their skin in horrifying ways to kill them. Then he grabs a butcher's knife and goes to the dining hall, where he cuts a guard's throat before jumping on the person at the head of the table, decapitating her. Boy celebrates having killed Hilda, only to turn around and discover it's the wrong person. Suddenly, Gideon shows up with a bunch of guards and explains the people at the table are actors because every year they expect resistance members. Boy jumps on Gideon to take him hostage with his own gun, but unfortunately, June 27th hits him from behind, and he accidentally lets Gideon go. A vicious fight begins between June 27th and Boy as they trade blows all over the room, using any object they can reach. As they roll out of the dining room, Boy lands a solid hit and takes June 27th helmet off. Mina then appears and says the woman is pretty, distracting Boy. This gives June 27th the opening to push him over the railing and knock him out. An unconscious Boy starts having nightmares about the past, the execution of his mother and sister, the regime cutting out his tongue, and being hung from a tree. He remembers the shaman saving him and carrying him into the jungle, ready to train him for vengeance. When Boy wakes up, he's tied to a chair, and June 27th is punching him as she asks where to find the shaman. Boy mouths the F word at her, causing her to throw an axe very close to his head. Gideon makes her leave because he'll take over, only to announce he's tired of all the torture and the calling. He offers Boy a cigarette, which Boy eats, as he explains that Hilda has become a paranoid and murderous shell of herself after years in a bunker. Gideon knows they aren't killing enemies anymore, just innocent people. He promises he can end it all if Boy hands over the shaman, but Boy refuses and Gideon hits him. At that moment, Melanie arrives and paints Boy's lips while announcing he'll be the main star of the calling. Moments later, Boy is tied up in the studio and given a shock collar. He asks the Mina hallucination why she didn't let him kill June 27th, but she doesn't know. Soon the show begins and Hilda comes out, but instead of reading the teleprompter, she starts rambling in obvious paranoia. When she sees a shadow in the audience, she pulls out a gun, so Melanie sends the guards to take Hilda away. At that moment, Boy remembers Gideon hid a scalpel in his pocket, so he takes it out to start cutting the ropes. Meanwhile, Melanie announces that this year's culling will have a winter wonderland theme with cereal mascots and demonic elves. A bunch of people in disguise come out and start killing the 12 participants in gruesome, yet creative ways, covering the fake snow with blood. One of the killers tries to come after Boy, who uses only his legs to bring the attacker down in seconds. He finally frees himself and heads to the stage, but Melanie activates his shock collar to bring him down. 4 elves grab him and hold him down for the Goat Man to kill him. However, the Goat Man uses his hammer to hit an elf instead. The other elves barely react before the Goat Man quickly kills them as well. When he removes the goat head, it's revealed to be Basho. At that moment, Benny bursts in with open fire, and the crowd panics. Melanie ends the transmission, while Gideon watches with a smile. As the crowd runs out of the studio, Benny continues to shoot any enemies left, and Basho explains to Boy how they snuck around wearing soldier uniforms to find him. However, when Benny takes over the explanation, Boy once again has trouble reading his lips and imagines funny details like flowers and strange animals. Then Benny gives Boy a brass knuckle gun that fires bullets when he punches someone. The trio jumps back into action, easily killing any enemy that dares fight them. Behind the cameras, Melanie realizes Gideon planned this and points a gun at him when he tries to leave. The fight continues, and Boy fights a serial pirate mascot with a knuckle and a carrot from a snowman. Soon he runs out of bullets, but Benny throws him a clip, and he reloads the knuckle to punch and shoot the pirate's face at the same time. At that moment, Boy sees Mena, who is scared of the sight of him. Melanie tries to shoot him, so Benny tackles him to save him and gets shot instead. Basho fires back, scaring Melanie into hiding while Benny dies in Boy's arms, saying something Boy can't understand. Melanie sneaks around and shoots Basho before trying to shoot Boy again. He runs up the stage, uses a pineapple mascot as a shield, and rolls it down to knock Melanie over and capture her. Boy ties Melanie to a chair and pushes a camera toward her, killing her instantly. Then he checks on Basho, who is alive but very weak. He still wants to fight, so the duo takes the hallway and encounters more guards. As Basho starts having trouble walking, Boy continues to kill every man in his way, fueled by memories of his family's death and his hunger for revenge. Several minutes of violence later, all the guards are dead, and Boy snaps out of it to discover Basho has died from his wound. Nearby, Boy finds Gideon, who was also shot by Melanie. With his last bit of energy, Gideon gives Boy a keycard to access Hilda's bunker. When Boy gets ready to kill him out of mercy, Mena appears and makes him stop. Boy finally tells her she's dead, and he doesn't need her. The hallucination disappears, and Boy kills Gideon. Next, Boy gets in the elevator, and Hilda appears on the screen, saying he'll die for nothing. Boy shows Mena's drawing to say he's doing it for her, causing Hilda to hang up. The elevator takes him to the bunker, and when the doors open, the guards don't shoot. June 27 takes Boy to the main room, where he sees some family paintings that include him and Mena as children. Hilda rushes to hug him and apologizes for not recognizing him. Dropping big news, she reveals that Boy and Mena are actually her children. As she explains what happened, Boy starts remembering the truth. He had been at the calling, but not as a victim. He had been a participant. The real victims were the shaman, his son, a woman who he thought was his mother, and her daughter. Hilda forced Boy to fire the gun to kill them. Boy managed to kill the children and the woman before having a breakdown. His shooting became erratic, and everyone panicked, allowing the shaman to escape. Overwhelmed with guilt, Boy ran into the jungle to cry alone. The shaman found him and started to choke him, but stopped when he got an idea. He kidnapped the kid and began brainwashing him to change his memories. He even hurt Boy, convincing him the wounds came from the government. The shaman cut out Boy's tongue and burned his ears to make him more controllable. Back in the present, Hilda finishes the story by saying Boy has been killing his aunts and uncles. She also reveals that June 27th is actually Mena. As Boy falls to his knees in shock, Hilda asks for proof that her son is still in there and slaps him when he doesn't react. She concludes this isn't her son anymore and orders Mena to kill him. Also believing this isn't her brother anymore, Mena starts beating up Boy and takes out her axe for the kill. But she freezes when Boy puts up his hand. Remembering the day with the statue, Mena turns around and kills her mother instead. Another family member activates an alarm, and the siblings run to hide as the soldiers open fire. They steal some hidden weapons and run down the corridor, where they start fighting all the incoming soldiers together. They make a marvelous team and easily kill any man that dares to go against them. Suddenly, 3 guards arrive with heavy weapons and Mena gets wounded. Thankfully, she's fine and teams up with Boy again to tackle another soldier, using him as a shield to run through the corridor. They reach the guy with the Gatling gun, who Mena pulls down while Boy uses his own weapons to kill him. As more soldiers arrive, the siblings run to the elevator to escape. Hilda had explained she'd been looking for him all these years and only hurt people because she thought they had hurt him. Suddenly, the elevator is called to a different floor. When the doors open, they see the shaman using sign language. The shaman tells Boy to kill Mena because she's also part of the evil family, but Boy refuses. Mena quickly attacks the shaman and lands a few hits, but he easily overpowers her. When he's about to kill her, Boy hits him to make him drop her. Then the siblings attack the shaman together. However, the shaman is incredibly fast and uses dirty tactics, giving the siblings terrible injuries. He headbutts Mina to destroy her helmet and hurt her with the shards, making her bleed heavily. Now Boy has to fight the shaman alone. After a few moves, he steals the man's necklace to cut him multiple times with it. As he throws the shaman around the room, he accidentally drops the necklace, and the shaman grabs it back to cut open Boy's leg and arm. Boy grabs the shaman's hands and, with the help of a vision of his younger self, pushes down the necklace to finally kill his mentor. After screaming in physical and emotional pain, Boy checks on Mina and confirms she's alive. She wants him to escape, but he picks her up and they leave together as Boy remembers their days in the arcade, mentioning it's better to have a player too. Sometime later, the siblings are in an abandoned building eating cereal like old times. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching this.